on this episode of the Clip Service Podcast. Guys, it's all tied up. It's gotten a little closer than I would like at this point, but you know what? Hey, this is true to my initial predictions. I had initially thought that we were going to steal one in Denver, we were going to lose one in LA. Considering how good game 3 went, it makes it a little bit more disheartening because I thought that maybe we could take that game 4 as well, get a 3-1 lead, and get a chance to put away what we didn't put away in 2020. But guys, there's still a ton of series left to be played. The Clippers play on Tuesday in Denver, so we're going to break down the last two games, the first of which was a win. The second one was a loss in a fashion that I've not quite seen. So we'll break all of that down, and then we will preview the next game or two games. We're going to do next episode depending on how Tuesday's game goes, but we got a lot to talk about, guys. We're going to try and get it done as quickly as possible. So without further ado, let's make it happen.
What's up, Clipper Nation? Welcome to the Clip Service Podcast. Please make sure to find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Amazon Music, and YouTube. And you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at Clip Service Pod. I'm Rolla, and this is my co-host, Nick. Let's get right into it. And right into it I shall get. After our last episode, we ended covering the first and the second game, where, at that time we were tied. The series was tied 1-1, where we were feeling really good. Kawhi went off, and we kind of carried that into the next game, which was on this last Thursday, April 24th. The game ended 117-83, a pretty dominant win. We kind of just carried it forward. Everyone just played their hearts out, played well, played their roles to the best of their ability. Kawhi had 21 points, 11 boards. And, the thing about this game was, I felt like every player kind of, excelled and kind of,
Everybody chipped in.
Yeah, dominated in their own role. And, you see it on the box score. I mean, Zoo had 19 points and 9 boards. James Harden had 20 points and 9 assists, 6 boards. Norman Powell had 20 points and 3 assists. Chris Dunn locked in on defense and contributed with 6 points and 8 boards. And, our bench kind of, went off in their own right. And, Derek Jones and Nico Batum combined for 22 points, and, they got their, steals, blocks, assists. I think, to be honest, there isn't too much to cover in this one, just because it was such a dominant win, and it felt like a carry forward from our last game. In the last episode, I had mentioned that, the game plan for the Nuggets was to lock down Kawhi and make sure Kawhi didn't do to them again what he did in game 2. And, I think we really saw that. They kind of really focused in on Kawhi and, tried to lock them down. But, at the end of the day, I feel like Kawhi's energy from game 2 kind of spread to the rest of the team, and the rest of the team was able to really carry him. I mean, he went 7 of 17 and dropped 21, a team high of 21 points, but obviously he wasn't playing to the efficiency and to the level of game 2. But overall, the Nuggets, honestly, maybe it was the travel time, or maybe it was I don't know, but they did not look good. They did not look like the team we had played the first two games. And, our defense stepped up and their offense took a step back, and, we ended up completely dominating. Do you have any thoughts on this game, Nick?
Yeah, I have a couple. I mean, overall, just a fantastic win. I kind of couldn't believe what I was seeing. I thought that, the Nuggets were, I thought the Nuggets were going, I thought the Clippers were going to win this one going into it, but I didn't think that the Clippers would dominate the way that they did for most of the game. Real quick, a huge shout out to the Intuit Dome crowd. Um, just from watching it on TV, um, it was palpable, how loud it was. And I know a lot of people that went and said that it was just ear splitting at times. Like
Hmm.
that the crowd involvement was great. Ty Lue gave it a shout out after the game, said that the fans were great. Kawhi gave it a shout out after the game. Like it was, the energy was very much a huge driving force in the Clippers' dominance. There was a play where to end, I think it was to end the first quarter or to end the second one going into halftime, where Batum pump fakes on a three, sidesteps, and hits a three to end the quarter, basically. And the crowd pop from that shot was something that I haven't heard in a Clipper home game probably ever. I mean, the closest was
Hmm.
probably the Terrence Mann game against Utah. Um, but it's just that arena gets so loud, and you could tell the fans were taking it personally, with what Adelman was saying and stuff like that. It
Yeah.
just shouts out to the Clipper fans that showed up and showed out. It was, just from watching it at home, you could feel it. That was really cool. Speaking of Nick Batum, he was fantastic in this one. He just looked like the Nick Batum that the Clippers have known and loved for both times that he's been with the Clippers. Doing all the little things. Got a
Hmm.
big block on Aaron Gordon. Was hitting his threes. Um, the Nuggets got off to a hot start in this one, but the Clippers did a really good job of getting things together, simplifying the game, and playing their version of the game, and just asserting their will on the Clippers. One thing I really liked about that I wanted to touch on in this game was the bench lineup. I mean, Ty Lue's going to stagger his stars most of the time in the playoffs. I don't think he's
Hmm.
ever going to do a full five-man swap, but there was a lineup that was the central bench lineup, and that was Harden, at the one, and then you
Right.
had Batum, Jones, Norm, and Ben. And that lineup was really, really successful. And again, Ben Simmons' switchability, it hasn't jumped off the page statistically, but he's done a really good job on the times that he's either primarily guarding Jokic and then has to switch off of him. Like he's really good at shuffling his feet. He did a good job at making Jokic's life harder in this one, and he was a big driving force of that bench unit. And so I've really liked what I've seen from Ben. Again, I would like a little bit more scoring, but at the end of the day, he's doing what we have him in there for. He's grabbing rebounds, he's pushing the pace, and then he's playing defense. Basically 1 through 5. So I liked what I saw from Ben Simmons in this one. Clippers had an 18-point lead at half and just kept extending it.
Hmm.
As Rolla said up top with the score, 117 to 83. That's a dominant win. Um, One more thing I wanted to touch on in this one was this was a game that Norm really got his swagger back. Obviously, his scoring output didn't jump off the page like it did, when Norm was leading the team in scoring.
Right.
But 20 points, six or excuse me, 7 for 12, so quite efficient. Hit all of his free throws, like really, really good stuff from Norm. It was really good to get his swagger back, and I think that it was very apparent that he was very comfortable in front of that crowd. And that was really good to see because, we need that from Norman. We need that from Bogey. Speaking of which, Bogey scored his first freaking points of the series in this game. He finished the game with two, but it was a
Yeah.
resounding two because he, up to that point, and it was in the fourth quarter, up to that point, he didn't score anything in the series. So
Hmm.
that was good to see. We'll talk about Bogey's contributions in the following game as well. But yeah, just an all-around great game. This was such a highlight moment for Clipper fans, and whether you were at the game or not at the game, just seeing Clipper Nation in full force. Before the game, at the game, and then I was watching videos of Clipper fans after the game. Just like in the concourse, the main concourse, or walking out of the building, everybody just seemed in good spirits, and there was just like a such a strong level of community. So that was really cool to see.
Yeah.
Just an awesome win.
And also this was the first game, the first
Yeah,
playoff game
exactly.
at Intuit
In
Dome.
into it dome.
So, it is great to see, a dominant win in our first ever game at Intuit Dome, and to see, our fans show out, and to see us, you could hear it through the TV how loud it was in the arena, and that they made those comments. The commentators, they made the comments of like, you can barely hear, like, our fans are loud. And
Yeah.
the Nuggets coach said, previously, he was saying that we were pumping in sound. And we said this in our last episode. It's not we're not pumping in sound, as much as it might seem that way. The stadium is built
Be
to
loud.
kind of trap in that sound and be loud, but also, it's a playoff game. Our fans are going to show up, and that's exactly what happened.
Also, shouts out to, there were a lot of stars in the audience too. Chris Paul was there, and
Yeah.
thankfully, Chris Paul's tenure, for whatever reason, from among a lot of Clipper fans, has been like kind of tenuous and very polarizing. I, for one, will always love Chris Paul, for what he did for Clipper Nation. He did get a standing ovation, which was really cool to see. Pat Bev again showing up to the game in a Zoo jersey. That was awesome to see.
Hmm.
Kyrie Irving was there. Like, it was a big deal, and it was just really a special night for the first playoff game in Intuit Dome. It was cool to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, just a great win, a great way to gain control of the series. And I was confident going into Game 4. I knew it was going to be a little tougher. It's really hard to beat the same team 3 times in a row. Um, but I was confident. Unfortunately, the Clippers did not get the win in this one, and the Denver Nuggets tied up the series. Final score 101-99. And if you notice, that is a 2-point differential. And those 2 points came off of a play in which the Clippers were playing defense, the Nuggets were playing offense, inbound the ball with about 3 seconds left. Jokic catches it out on the perimeter. Zoo does a great job at defending
Hmm.
Jokic at the perimeter, gets a big stop. Jokic shoots an air ball. The only problem was there was no box out. Aaron Gordon catches the air ball, dunks it in. They reviewed it. It was good. Game over. The Nuggets win. So this was, the value. There was the value oop, obviously, against the Spurs where DeAndre Ayton dunked the
You mean
ball in
against
off
the
the
Suns?
inbound. What did I say?
Spurs.
Oh, yeah. Excuse me. Against the Suns in the playoffs. I believe that was game 3 or game
It was
2.
game 3. It was game 2. You're right.
Um, the value oop was horrible. This wasn't as bad in my honest opinion, just considering, how well the Clippers are positioned to be able to regain control of this series.
Hmm.
Um, but uh, it had the same kind of feeling, just a unexplainable, unfathomable way to lose that game. Um, and this game was weird on a lot of fronts. The Clippers, I wouldn't say that the Clippers didn't look like they wanted to win because there were, for most of the game, the Clippers were engaged, but there were just little things that just kept happening. To end, I think it was the first quarter or the second quarter, Harden throws a full court pass off an inbound to try and get it to Zoo with like a couple seconds left on the clock to try and get an easy bucket. It goes out of bounds, so the Nuggets are able to inbound it right next to the Clippers basket. Jokic catches it, pulls up for a logo three, drains it. And it was little things like that on the margins. A couple offensive rebounds. There were a
Yeah.
couple plays. There was another scuffle where James Harden and Christian Brown get into it. Both teams get involved, and that was officiated weirdly. They assessed technicals on Gordon, who I personally think should have probably been ejected. I mean, he pushed hard. He swung at Harden, but apparently it wasn't a closed fist, so he didn't get ejected for that. So Gordon got a technical, Brown got a technical, and Jokic got a technical. On the other side, it was Norm, Dunn for some reason, and Harden. And so it was a wash. And I'm just thinking, like, that's the second time that there's been a scuffle in which there was a player on the Nuggets that was probably taking it a little bit far in comparison, and there's either nothing that happens or the Nuggets are basically granted an advantage. So that was weird to me. The officiating was just bad. It was bad both ways, but there were a couple
Hmm.
plays where Kawhi pulled the chair out from Gordon when he was posting up. Kawhi gets called for a foul. Based on the last 2 minute report, there was a foul on I think a Kawhi three or something like that should have been called. Um, it was an odd game, and the Clippers didn't really they weren't hitting their open shots. That was the biggest. I think to me that was the biggest thing. They were getting a lot of opportunities to make those open threes. Batum kind of cooled off in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Bogey looked good. He looked better. And he had actually a huge play where he grabbed the offensive rebound from Jokic and laid the ball up with a couple seconds left, and I think to tie it or take the lead.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, the bench unit wasn't hitting their open shots the way that they did in that first game, and just left the door open. At one point, the Clippers were down by 22,
Yeah.
and they fought to get back in this game. This was a freaking huge fourth quarter from Norman Powell. Hit like two or three threes in a row to tie it, and I think give them a lead or something like that. Basically, the Clippers battled all the way back, and essentially all of it went away because Aaron Gordon caught the dunk or caught the air ball and dunked it in. And my only thing, I'll let you get to it real quick,
Mm-hmm.
Rolla, but my only thing that frustrates me about that last possession, because like I said, Zoo played as good of a defense as he could. They got the stop. My question to Ty Lue would be, all you have to do, because Chris Dunn was missing a ton of open threes, so he didn't play a lot in that fourth quarter. They went with Norm, which ended up being the way to go. But for that last possession, Batum, Derek Jones, and Chris Dunn, and Ben Simmons, none of these guys were on the floor. So in the dunker spot, you had Norman Powell and James Harden. And unfortunately, Norman Powell, looking at that shot, you assume that it's just airball overtime.
Yeah.
But Norman Powell doesn't have the defensive instincts to say, okay, I got Aaron Gordon behind me in the dunker spot. I need to box out. And he didn't. And Aaron Gordon was able to get a free, uncontested dunk to put it back in. And so I just thought that was like a big mistake by Ty to not put in our defenders for that stop. You don't have to go in and play offense on the other end. You have to get one stop.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my criticism for Ty. Overall, I think he coached an okay game. But that was a critical error. I don't know, Rolla, what was your takeaway from this one?
My first takeaway was, um, I am not that frustrated about this game. I thought, well, I guess my frustration is, I just didn't think the Clippers wanted to win this game. I don't think we deserved to win this game. I thought that throughout three quarters we played like dog shit, and it showed. The score showed.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter we actually started to play hard, and we started to play playoff basketball, and that's when we started to come back because we are a better team than the Nuggets, which is
Yeah.
why we were
I would
able
agree.
to come back. But you know, like you can't procrastinate on trying. You know what I mean? Like if we had
Yeah.
played that hard in the fourth quarter throughout the entire for the entire game, we would have blown out this Nuggets team again, like the way we did in Game 3. But we didn't. I don't know why. I don't know if maybe the players were tired from the game before, which is hard to believe because all of our starters were out by the fourth quarter of the last game. I don't really understand why they were playing the way that they were. We had, Batum missing like wide open shots that he usually hits. There were scuffles. It just felt like the Clippers weren't focused the way that they were in Game 3. So I honestly didn't think we deserved to win the game. The silver lining to the game, in my opinion, is how well we played in the fourth quarter, and I think we'll be able to carry that over into the next game. Um, you know, I, I picked this series to be a 7-game series because I think that these two teams and all of the I was texting Nick yesterday. I think that teams 2 through 7 are all the same level of team, and we're seeing it with the Lakers and the T-Wolves. We're seeing it with the Warriors and the Rockets. These just because you know the regular season went a certain way doesn't mean that the playoffs is going to be the exact same way. People were saying that the Nuggets they were dysfunctional because of the Mike Malone firing. They don't have a leader. Maybe they wouldn't be trying as hard, but that's not true. Like I was saying, last year in the T-Wolves Nuggets series, this Nuggets team is a hard team to beat in the playoffs because they are a good half court team. Jokic is good at kind
They're
of
actually
like
not a very
nibbling.
good half court team, believe it or not.
But I mean, like I guess when it counts, Jokic is really good at kind of like
Jokic
reading.
is good. Yeah.
Exactly, good at reading a team and kind of picking teams apart,
Sure.
which I feel like he was doing for the first 3 quarters of the game, and then in the last quarter we kind of just stepped up our defense and stepped up everything, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, Jokic had 36 points, 21 boards, and 8 assists, dude. Like, I mean, everyone on there, all of their entire starting lineup played so well, and except for Jamal Murray, and that just shouldn't have been the case. Uh, the Gordon dunk, like, shit happens, mistakes happen. Um, you know, it's an air ball. There's no way you could predict that happening.
You got
It's
to box out
unfortunate.
regardless, but
You got to
it
box
was
out
the personnel that
regardless,
was on the floor that were like,
of course.
that's the thing is
But
like these guys aren't known defenders, so they're not going to know. They're not going to have the instincts to
yeah,
box out like that.
no, I get it. But to me, it's like it's just one of those things where it's kind of just like bullshit. To be honest, like
Yeah.
Jokic is that should have been like, I don't know, that should have it could have, the ball could have gone over the backboard and been end a game. You know what I mean? Like, no one's predicting that Jokic is airballing that straight to Aaron Gordon in that spot. So I think it just is what it is. We take it as an L. We carry the good energy and the good shot making and the good luck, I guess, into the next game, and we win game 5. But this isn't like the Nuggets aren't an easy team to beat.
No, certainly not.
I think that they're led by the best player in the league currently,
Yeah.
and that's gonna be hard to do. I think Kawhi has really got to step up in these next 3 games,
That's what I was
if
going
we
to
want
say.
to
Yeah.
if we want to win this series. He played okay, but it seemed like I always say, like, you know a star chokes when they play beneath their average. I'm not saying Kawhi choked, but I'm saying that he is playing very average the last 2 games, where he was playing like a superstar in game 2. I think we
Yeah.
all saw the difference. We all can see the difference in his play. So we need that game 2 Kawhi to come back in games 5, 6, and 7.
Or
And
five
that's
and
really all.
six.
Or 5 and 6. And
Yeah.
that's really all I
I,
got to say on that.
yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, like the only things that I wanted to touch on was actually Russell Westbrook did not play in this one. And so it was interesting to see where the Nuggets went in his absence. They tried what's his name? Jalen Pickett a bit. Didn't really work for them. Or no, not Jalen Pickett. Yeah, Jalen Pickett. He went scoreless, only played 6 minutes. They tried DJ Vlatko Chongchar or whatever his name is. Um, didn't really work for them. But one thing that I noticed was that Michael Porter
Mhm.
had his best game of the series so far in this game, and he's been nursing that shoulder injury, but he got more touches because they were down, a rotation player, and he kind of made us pay. I think he was kind of their X factor in this one. Obviously, you had Gordon, but Michael Porter was good in this one. So I'm curious to see how the other guys step up, especially if Russ doesn't play in this one, because as Rolla, as
Mhm.
you touched on, Jamal Murray didn't have a good game in this one. I think only 13 points.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if Jamal Murray has a Jamal Murray game in game 5, or if Michael Porter continues the strong play, if his
That's
shoulder's feeling better, or
that's what I'm
so
afraid of, is that
that's
Jamal Murray game, because we know what
yeah,
Jokic is going to be. If Jamal Murray has one of those games where he just kind of go like just hits every shot,
yeah,
that's gonna be a hard team to beat.
yeah,
And that's kind of like, I think that we'll see one of those, and that's kind of where that's why I'm picking the Clippers in 7, because I think we'll
7,
see one of those,
sure,
where it'll kind of end up with the Nuggets getting a win. I don't know which game it's gonna be. I just think that
yeah,
the Clippers are the better team, and at the end of the day, when it comes to the NBA and 7 game series, like in college basketball, single elimination games, the worst team wins all the time. But when you have 7 games to really like ball, usually the better team wins. And,
yeah,
and that's kind of That's honestly how I make my play all of my playoff predictions. When you look at the Warriors and the Rockets, I mean, the Rockets are really talented, but they don't have experience. I think Steph Curry is has done everything there is to do when it comes to basketball. Draymond Green has done everything there is to do when it comes to basketball, and at the end of the day, I think that's what makes them the better team. You look at the Lakers and the T Wolves. I think the T Wolves have more energy. Like they
Yeah.
honestly want it more. You saw,
Lakers
I
went
mean,
down 3-1 for those of you
they
guys that
went
don't know.
they went down 3-1
Today.
today, and you saw Anthony Edwards, like literally he fucking wants it. Like the fact that he's like yelling at LeBron, pushing him, shoving him, like bro, how are you supposed to beat that? Like
Yeah.
that fucking energy. And there's no stat for Hart, bro. You can't like predict how much Hart is gonna make a player play better. You
Yeah.
just hope that he doesn't have that energy.
Totally.
Um,
It's interesting though. Like one last thing about the Jamal Murray thing before we get into the recap or the preview is I'm wondering how much of Jamal Murray's because Jamal Murray hasn't been exceptional this entire series. He really hasn't. Like
no.
relatively speaking. And I'm wondering how much of that is the fact that Chris Dunn has been phenomenal defensively. Like
Yeah.
I wonder if we are if the Jamal Murray game is inevitable or if Chris Dunn and
Can
Derrick
lock him up.
Jones if they've just been that good to where they're basically shutting Jamal Murray down. And going into this series, that was something that I really called for. I'm thinking, Jokic has reached inevitable status. He's on his
Hmm.
Thanos shit. So at some point, you're gonna have to say, hey, he's gonna do what he does. But what we can't do is let Jamal Murray also do what he does. And
Yeah.
I think that I'm wondering if Ty Lue has just said, okay, let's take Jamal Murray out of this series. If Jokic beats us, or if Gordon beats us on a fucking crazy dunk with zero point 0.1 seconds left, or if Russell Westbrook hits a corner three and beats us, then we'll live with that.
It is
But
what it
as long
is.
as we shut Jamal Murray down, then maybe that's how we win this series. So I'm curious to see, if we go and win this series in 6 or 7, and Jamal Murray still doesn't have that pop off game, then I think we can. It's safe to say that Ty Lue's game plan was that, and it worked.
Yeah.
So very curious to see that. But yeah, going into this game 5, um, I have worries. I do. I was worried after game 1, but I still said Clippers in 6. So there's cautious optimism here, especially because the 2 games that the Clippers lost in this one were games where something happened out of the norm, right? And so I think that more to your point, Rolla, I think we're the better team. My worries are the altitude in Denver. The Nuggets basically it's a best of 3 series now. The Nuggets effectively have home court advantage as it stands right now. So my worry is that. My worry is okay. Is Norm Powell is his strong play going to continue, or is it just a home game thing? Um, but outside of that, there's a lot of positives. Bogey finished the game strong. Bogey had some
Yeah.
huge plays in this one. Are we going to see a better version of Bogey? Ben Simmons, again, like I said, are bigger wings like Simmons. I mean, Simmons ain't a wing, but like he's wing sized.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it, Simmons, Batum, Derrick Jones, like they've all done what they needed to do. Are they going to continue their strong play? And so far so good. So I like the Clippers' chances, but Game 5 does present some challenges.
Yeah.
And I think that it's what is off the court that is the biggest thing. It's the home court advantage, and it's the fact that this series is now tied, essentially. I mean, literally, but you know now it's a best of 3. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see what happens, guys. I really hope that we can give you guys some good news, both for the Clippers and for our merch drop, which we'll talk about in a second, um, for next episode. So as I said, cautiously optimistic, but the Clippers need more out of James and Kawhi in this one.
Hmm.
They were a little lackluster in this first 2.5, 3 quarters of this game. So I'm expecting a huge game out of one of James or Kawhi, or maybe even both.
Hmm.
Zoo's been pretty solid for most of, if not all of this series. So we're going to need everything we can get. This series has been literally won on the margins, other than
Hmm.
Game 3.
Yep.
So yeah. But guys, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to get right into our merch drop. We're going to close this episode out. As I said, it's going to be a shorter episode. So we will be right back after this break.
What's up, guys? We are back, And I'm gonna announce the winner of
Game three.
our game 3 merch drop. Just a reminder, we are giving away free merch for every single Clippers win. Hopefully we get 2 more in this series, and y'all can get a chance to win 2 more sweatshirts. But without further ado, I got a little randomizer, and let's see who is the winner.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Drum roll.
Yeah, I was just about to say. Sorry. Here we go, guys. And did it work?
No.
Okay, hold on.
There we go. The winner is Deja King. Oh, you can't see it. Congratulations. Thank you, Deja, for being, a fan and supporting us, and liking and watching and commenting on our posts. We really appreciate the support, and keep liking. You can maybe win a second sweatshirt.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. We really appreciate the involvement in these things. Obviously we want a Clipper win, because we're Clipper fans and stuff like that. But it gives us a chance to be able to give you guys some of our merch and show our appreciation for tuning into this pod. But yeah, guys, I mean, I'm still happy with the results of the series overall. Last game sucked, but Clipper fans, I do not want you to lose hope, because effectively Clippers are still, in my opinion, Roll's opinion, and I'm sure a lot of you guys out there would agree, Clippers are still the better team overall.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's not a lot you can do about Jokic, but I think if the team kind of puts their heads together and rallies behind James and Kawhi, and we see the best version of those two, and everybody else continues to fall in line, similar to what we saw in Game 3, I really, really like the chances of the Clippers have of winning this series. An interesting thing is for those of you that don't know, the Oklahoma City Thunder just got done sweeping the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yep.
And so if the Clippers do move on and win this series, they will have a pretty well-rested Thunder. Lou Dort will have a lot of time to rest, so he can get ready and try and injure another player, as he tends to do. And that is absolutely shade. I cannot stand Lou Dort. I think the dude needs to be investigated. I think he's got a track record of hurting people. The dude is a dirty player. I don't hand that out often, but the dude is a very dirty player. Lou Dort.
What about Draymond Green?
I was going to say Lou Dort. I'm willing to go as far as saying this. In terms of dirty players, Lou Dort is who people think Draymond Green is.
Draymond Green literally kicked Steven Adams in the balls, bro.
I'm aware. Draymond Green is dirty, and he's had some dirty plays, but there is not a single player in the league that does it as consistently as Lou Dort. The dude is consistent. He's on time every single time. He's the mailman of dirty plays. So if the Clippers get past this one, they have that to deal with. Yeah. Obviously, Lou Dort's just a microcosm of the Thunder. They are a very, very good young team. Obviously, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is my pick for MVP.
Mine too.
They have a lot of really good young talent. Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren's back, Clipper legend Isaiah Hartenstein, Alex Caruso. So they have that chip.
Legend for Shai.
It's because it stings too much to talk about. Obviously Alex Caruso, they have that championship pedigree, so they're a tough team. Obviously, we can't think about that just yet, but it is something to keep in the back of the minds. An interesting turn of events. Sucks that the Grizzlies didn't make it a competitive series, but we got to handle our business first before we think about that. So I think that pretty much does it for this episode, guys. Kept it kind of short, but hopefully we can come back to you. We're gonna, depending on how the game goes on Tuesday, we either get to you guys on Wednesday, maybe Friday. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully we got another merch drop for you. But again, we really, really appreciate you guys for tuning in, showing support. Comment, like, subscribe everywhere you can. It really goes a long way. As Rolla said up top, you can watch us on YouTube, listen to us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and Deezer. And then just to follow or to get involved on the merch giveaway, follow us on Instagram and on Twitter at Clip Service Pod. We really appreciate it. And as Rolla. I can't think of one this time
Dude.
around.
As
As
Tyler
Barack,
said,
as Barack, did I say Barack Obama already?
no.
Are you sure?
No, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. As Barack Obama once said, "Let's go Clippers."
Let's go Clips.
Salute.